grew up in a small town where I could walk and play a couple of blocks from home, but only if I was with one of my older brothers or, later, our family dog, a super protective Rottweiler mix. I was never allowed to leave the house alone because my parents didn't want anything happening to me. Mainly because there was a well-known neighborhood creep, an old man, probably around 60 at the time. He lived alone, in a house on the street adjacent to ours. Next to his house lived a couple who were good neighbors and close friends of my parents. Let's call them the Smiths. They were around the same age as my parents, maybe a couple years older, and loved children. They couldn't have any of their own. My parents, on the other hand, had 7 biological kids and 4 non-biological ones. I was the youngest of them all. I had several unsettling encounters with neighborhood creep. Once, at the corner gas station, he came up behind me, smelled my hair, and told my brother I was cute. Another time, when I was riding in my dad's truck, the man flagged my dad down, then, looking directly at me, asked if I was his wife. I was 10 years old at this time, so no way I could be mistaken as somebody's wife. He was a major creep. But there's one moment I will never forget. My siblings and I would sometimes visit the Smiths because they were kind to us and let us swim in their pool. We didn't have one. They also paid us for small, odd jobs, and occasionally watched me when my parents were busy. One day, my brother and I went over to their house. He was in charge of watching me that day, and Mr. Smith offered him some money to help move things outside for a yard sale they were having. While the yard sale was going on, I sat on their front porch, playing with my Barbie doll. A few people had come and gone. My brother and Mr. Smith went inside to sort through more items, and Miss Smith was busy helping a customer. Then along came neighborhood creep, walking over slowly. He lingered, pretending to browse, but something about the way his eyes darted toward me made my stomach feel tight. After a couple minutes of fake browsing, he walked up to me, bent down, and reached out, his fingers brushing through my hair. Then he spoke, and what he said still sends a chill down my spine. With a low and ominous tone, he said, "How much for you, baby girl?" I froze. I was an incredibly shy child, so shy that I would cry if strangers even waved at me. But this made me damn near piss myself. A scream ripped out of my throat before I could think. I screamed again and again for my brother. Mr. Smith and my brother came running. The next thing I knew, my brother scooped me up and carried me home while Mr. Smith stayed behind, demanding answers. To this day, I don't know what was said. I never asked. I didn't even want to know. All I know is that neighborhood creep never spoke to me or even looked my way again. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And neighborhood creep, I hope to God we never meet again. The few people I've told this story to always laugh it off or tease me. But I swear on my life that it's true. I've always loved yard sales. In the summer, when I have a free day, I'll often just drive around looking for signs, wasting the hours away. About 2 years ago, I was doing just that, driving aimlessly, searching for yard sales, gradually venturing further into the rural countryside, enjoying the scenery, and getting lost winding back roads. Sometimes, that's how you find the best ones. That's when I saw a handmade yard sale sign propped up next to a large rock, the kind with a religious inscription carved into it, like churches sometimes have. I can't for the life of me remember exactly what it said. Something like God's Haven, but I figured if it was a church yard sale, there might be some good stuff. So, I turned down the narrow gravel driveway. The trees gave way to a clearing, revealing a beautiful white house. Long tables were spread out across the yard, displaying folded clothes, children's toys, and other random items. Nothing really caught my interest. There were probably 30 people milling about, but something felt off. They were all wearing identical gray jumpsuits. The only other person who seemed to be browsing, like me, was an older man, his dusty pickup truck parked nearby. Everyone else, the ones in the gray jumpsuits, was busy moving tables, rearranging items, or simply standing in small groups, talking amongst themselves. I was about to leave when a woman at a makeshift checkout table struck up a conversation with me. She was friendly enough, and as we chatted, I found myself staring past the house at a row of small, identical gray buildings. There were at least 10 of them, and the gray-clad people were constantly moving in and out. She followed my gaze and smiled. "Yes, we all live here. It's wonderful." Then her expression changed. Her eyes lit up in a way that made my stomach knot. "Hey, why don't you come inside and learn more?" I started to stumble over my words, trying to come up with an excuse, but she barely seemed to hear me. Instead, she gave a quick nod toward 3 men nearby, and suddenly they were standing around me. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I felt surrounded. "Really, you should come inside," she insisted, gripping my hand with a little too much enthusiasm. "We preach peace and the word of God." I tried to pull my hand away as the men stepped in even closer. My heart was pounding. I was opening my mouth, maybe to protest or maybe to yell, when the old man suddenly appeared beside me. "Sorry, ma'am," he said, his voice even but firm. "We both have to really get going. I don't think she's interested." For a second, no one moved. The woman's grip loosened. The men hesitated. Then, just like that, she let go, her expression stunned. The men took a step back. The old man, this stiff, scrawny old guy, who barely looked strong enough to carry his own groceries, grabbed my arm and hustled me toward my Jeep. As I fumbled with my keys, trying to keep my hands from shaking, he leaned in and muttered, "You really need to get out of here. Now." I glanced back toward the yard. Every single one of them had stopped what they were doing. They were just standing there, turned in our direction, silently watching. I forced a laugh, calling out, "Good luck with your sale," like I wasn't seconds away from a full-blown panic attack. I climbed into my Jeep and tried to back out of the narrow driveway, but in my rush, I miscalculated. My tires slid into a shallow ditch, kicking up dust and gravel. I hit the gas. Nothing. Panic surged through me. "Just take it easy," the old man said. "You have to put it in 4-wheel drive." I don't know how," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. I'd only had the Jeep a couple of months, and I'd never needed 4-wheel drive before. I figured I'd learn eventually. Just not like this. He crouched down, and keeping his voice calm, he said, "Turn that knob right there, then ease onto the gas." I did as he said. The tires gripped, the Jeep lurched, and I was back on solid ground. I rolled down the window just long enough to yell, "Thank you," before tearing out of there. He only gave a small nod, then walked back to his truck. When I told my family and friends, they laughed it off. "There aren't any cults around here," they said. "Probably just a church sale at someone's house." Maybe they're right. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe the nice old lady just wanted me to learn more about their church. But I've driven back through that area since, trying to find that rock with the religious inscription. I've never seen it again, and honestly, I don't think I ever want to. This happened many years ago when I was a kid. I was 10 years old at the time, but I still remember it very well. I used to go to yard sales with my parents when I was younger. We would mostly go on weekends, and in the summer when the weather was nice, and there would be a lot of sales around our neighborhood. We would take a walk and visit maybe 5 or 10 sales in a day, looking for cool things to find. It was a great way to save money and discover interesting items, and I mostly just looked for toys or video games, being the 10-year-old kid that I was back then. One summer day, our neighbor at the end of the street was having a sale in their driveway. It was a warm, sunny day, and my mother and I walked down to check it out. When we arrived, we saw quite a few other people there, maybe about 10 others, browsing through the items. I went straight for the video games section and noticed that they had some really cool games I hadn't seen before. One game, in particular, caught my eye. The newest NFL Madden game that was only a few months old. It was for the PlayStation 2, and I think it was being sold for only $5. I remember it was super cheap, so as soon as I saw it, I grabbed it and started walking toward the owner of the house. After taking one step, I felt a tap on my shoulder. Another kid, who looked about my age, had grabbed my arm and said he had seen the Madden game before I did, that I had taken it from him. I told him I hadn't even seen him. He explained that he had only gone a few feet away and set the game down for a second. I didn't really believe him, and knowing how good a deal the game was, I told him I was going to buy it anyway. The boy looked at me with an angry face and demanded that I give him the game, or else. Looking back, it was kind of rude of me, and I probably should have just given it to him, but I said no and walked away. Then I went over and bought it. Throughout the transaction, the boy continued staring at me with that angry look, following me with his gaze until I left. I got back home, and since it was a weekend, I immediately went to my room to play my new game. When I started playing, time seemed to fly by. I was having a great time until I heard my bedroom door creak open. It was sometime in the afternoon, and I looked over expecting to see my mom. Instead, I saw the boy from the garage sale standing in my doorway, staring at me. I was really surprised to see him, and had no idea how he got into my house. He was a lot bigger than me, and when I saw him, I paused my game. He said he wanted the game, and he wanted it now. I asked him what he was doing there, but he just started walking closer. I began screaming for help, feeling that he was going to hurt me. As I yelled, I heard the distant sound of my parents. The boy paused, then ran out of my room. Shortly afterward, my mom came in. I told her everything that had happened. Apparently, my parents had been out in the backyard doing yard work, and the front door had been unlocked, so the boy had been able to walk in. I was relieved that he was gone, and that I still had my game. I played it some more that night before going to bed. The next morning, however, when I woke up, I soon noticed that my new game was gone. It had been inside my PlayStation, and I knew someone had taken it. I asked my parents, but they both said that they hadn't seen it at all. I couldn't explain it until a creepy thought crossed my mind. Maybe the boy never really left our house when he left my room. Maybe he just hid somewhere, and when we all went to bed, he took my game. To this day, I still think that's what happened. While the entire experience remains grounded in the ordinary, a summer day at a yard sale, and a seemingly unlocked door, the unexplained presence and subsequent disappearance of the game add an unsettling twist that has haunted my memories ever since. Out of all the disturbing people I've encountered in my 17 years of life, this guy takes the cake. Context: I live in a town with virtually no crime, and my subdivision is considered the nicest one, which isn't saying much, because this whole town has nice cars, homes, and people. Every spring, my subdivision hosts its annual yard sale. We're not allowed to have them at any other time. These things are a huge deal. I'm talking ads throughout town, and even in nearby towns. Some homes are even sponsored by companies like Dick's Sporting Goods. Anyway, this weekend means the neighborhood is flooded with people who don't live there. This happened when my friends and I were around 7 years old. The days leading up to the yard sales were pretty uneventful. We mostly just spent time deciding what to sell. The day before the sales started, my school sent a letter home to all parents, warning that several adults had reported a ratty red pickup truck circling the neighborhood. No one recognized the driver, and he didn't exactly look friendly. The letter said if the truck was seen, to bring the kids inside immediately. Our parents gave us a refresher on stranger danger, and we went on with our lives, visiting neighbors and checking out their yard sale setups. Sure enough, the first day of the sale, the red truck was seen driving all around. Parents were calling other parents, giving them a heads up. Kids came inside, and life went on as normal. The next day, my friends and I went back outside. We saw a red truck, but weren't sure if it was the same one. There were tons of unfamiliar cars because of all the ads. We decided it wasn't the same truck because the guy inside looked nice. He stopped at the house we were at and asked if we were planning to buy anything. We pointed out a few purses and random stuff we liked, and he offered to pay for them. What a nice guy, we thought. After talking to him for a few minutes, we told him we had to go home. He asked where we lived, and us being stupid, naive kids, we thought nothing of it. We told him our street names and the colors of our houses. Later that day, when I got home from a friend's house, my mom ran to me, hugged me tightly, and said she was so glad to see me. I asked what was going on, and she told me she saw the red truck from the school's warning. A man had come to the door asking if I was home. He said he wanted to know how I liked the purse he bought me. I explained everything to my mom. She freaked out. She called every parent in the neighborhood. The word about the red truck spread fast. Eventually, the weekend ended, and no one saw the red truck again. Fast forward a few weeks later, I was sleeping over at a friend's house. The next day, we went to this small restaurant next to the golf course with her parents. There were some practice holes nearby, and we went over to play while her parents chatted with some friends they'd run into. I noticed a man a few holes down and immediately recognized him. It was the guy from the yard sales. I remembered how mad my mom had been, so I ignored him. But a few minutes later, he came over and apologized, saying he was sorry our parents were upset. He said he wanted to make it up to us, and suggested we all stop for ice cream. My friend and I were hesitant. We didn't say anything. Thankfully, her parents must have seen us from the restaurant. They ran out, screaming for us to come back and telling the man to leave immediately. He backed off and disappeared. Years later, when I was about 13, I asked my mom for more details about him. She told me the man was wanted by the police a few towns over for being a pedophile and for abducting 3 children. It scared the hell out of me. To know that my friends and I could have easily been next, I still get chills just thinking about it. So, yard sale guy with a red truck, wherever you are now, let's not meet again, ever.